As a teenager and even in my early 20s, I set goals, a lot of them. I even accomplished some like graduating as valedictorian, going to my dream school, getting super ripped, hitting 10K months, and even repping 70-pound pull-ups. So don't get me wrong, accomplishing goals feels amazing, but I think every high achiever gets to a point where they kind of start asking themselves, what's the point? And maybe you did what I did and talked to therapists or watched TED Talks or maybe even ordered some edgy books online on existentialism. So the thing is, I spent most of my early 20s just trying to accomplish the goals that I set years ago. But the funny thing is, none of their time frames extended past 25. As if I accomplished all those things, the grown, accomplished 25-year-old version of me would know exactly what to do next and have life all figured out. So when 25 came and went, I found myself in a situation where I had two choices to figure out what life after 25 looked like. One, I could let it play out and see what happens, or two, reflect back and reestablish what I want. So I'm faced again with the dreaded question everyone gets as a kid. What do you want to be when you're older? And back then I didn't really know. I just said what I thought would make other people happy. I said I wanted to be an engineer. Well, now with a fully developed prefrontal cortex, I'm not gonna just throw out a non-thought out what society wants type of answer anymore, like a child. Instead, here are gonna be the three major mindsets I'll be using to answer that exact question. So it seems like a lot of people love setting ambitious goals, me being one of them. But the problem with that is sometimes the goalpost can feel so far away. And personally, sometimes I get discouraged and even occasionally forget what I'm trying to accomplish. So instead, I'm doing something I call input-based focusing. Kind of like growing a big fruit tree, I might plant the seeds in the first place because I want the fruit, but my focus won't be on the fruit. It's gonna be doing what it takes to grow the fruit, grow the tree, I should say. And I've learned these as leading indicators and lagging indicators, or inputs and outputs. And once we set what we want, the focus is on the leading indicators, the things kind of right in front of us. And these type of things are the things that we can be doing today, that can be done today. And when I started thinking with an input-based focus, I realized a lot of the things we care about and set as goals are actually lagging indicators. The type of body you have, the amount of money in your account, the health of your relationships, and even our confidence and our beliefs. Those are all lagging indicators. So again, I'm not saying not to set goals, but if we reverse engineer what we want, we can figure out what leads to what we want. So once we know what our goals are, we focus on the inputs, right? Working out and eating well, the amount of time spent on generating income, speaking and listening to the people that we care about, and doing what we say we're gonna do. So with an input-based focus, we have a clear, actionable path to getting what we want. And instead of feeling proud a few months or a few years from now, once we finally hit that faraway goalpost, we can give ourselves the chance to win every day and have an honest way of seeing our progress in real time. And while I think input-based focusing is a much better approach to hitting goals, there does of course have to be more to life than just checking boxes off, right? So the more I started thinking about it, the more I realized who I am is equally, if not more important than what I achieve. So the second mindset I'll be using is something I call identity first intention. So a lot of times how we see ourselves is based on what we do and what type of environments we're in. But sometimes identities we accidentally adopt affect what we do too. So here's the thing, you can accomplish goals without adopting an identity, but who you are stays with you no matter what you try to do. So just to give an example, in my last semester of college at the beginning of 2019, COVID caused some of my classes to become pass no pass. And the goal was of course to pass, but I couldn't escape kind of the nerd in me who felt compelled to put in the work to get an A that didn't really even exist. And looking back now, I of course didn't have to go that hard just to get a pass, because now it just says pass on my transcript, which I never even needed or even looked at. But it did make me think about how can I carry that same type of energy into the other areas of my life? So the answer seems almost a little too simple. and that is to care more about the identity than the goal. And while it sounds straightforward, it can be kind of tough. Because really, in the grand scheme of things, missing a workout here or there, for example, it won't matter in the results that you get. But it does affect how you see yourself and your identity. So on the extreme end of it, it's kind of like why cheating to win a game doesn't feel very good. Because even if you win, you become a cheater. So if I really believe that who I am is just as important as what I achieve, I need to prioritize my identity over my goals. But I have a feeling if I'm intentional about my identity, the goals, they're gonna follow. So the problem with identities though is sometimes they change. And if that's taken away from you, or even if you change your mind, it can kind of suck. So just to give an example, instead of choosing a fixed identities like a straight A student, I might choose more flexible labels like a diligent overachiever, or choosing labels like athletic and healthy versus being a wrestler. Because one day you'll finish being a student with grades, or you might get an injury that kind of requires you to stop playing contact sports. And obviously the identities we take on are important. But since we can have multiple identities, I don't think it's necessarily who we are. I think they're more like a bunch of small windows that show us a little bit more about ourselves. So the third mindset, I think, is the foundation kind of to it all. And that's choice of character. Because we can have multiple identities, but we only have one character. So some people believe we're born with certain temperaments, and how much control we have over that is probably somewhere between none at all and all of it. But kind of regardless of what we're born with, I think the character that we choose is one of those rare things that we can't control. Because we can't control all of the choices or all the forks in the roads that we're faced with, but we can choose how we think about them and how we act. So some people think that you need a lot of character to make tough choices. And I think that's true, but also you build a lot of character by making tough choices. And in most of our life, our character is an input, like a lens that filters the way we see the world. But understanding the importance of how that works, with choice of character, we're taking our character as the output instead of just the input. This way, we can see it as something that we can change and grow and develop. So for me anyways, that's kind of both like a daunting, but also an empowering idea. But I guess with all that said, I'm still stuck with the question of what do I want to be when I'm older? And to be honest, I'm still fleshing out that answer. But I think I have a better question, and that's what type of person do I want to be when I'm older? And in the ways of things and distractions and life, I think it's easy to keep looking for answers and forget what questions we're trying to understand. So I forget that all the time. But when I take the time to really sit on it and look into my heart of hearts, a man of character is who I want to be. You know, the type of person who continues to get stronger so I can lift others up. Someone a younger version of myself would, look up to. But that being said, now I have a question for you. And you don't have to answer this right now, but whenever you're ready, let me know in the comments below. What type of person do you want to be? Talk soon.